Hey everybody, my name is Mike Montgomery, and today I'm going to show you how to build a DIY cat tower like this on Modern Builds. I used 1/2-inch birch plywood to build this DIY cat tower, and I started by using my circular saw to rip it into strips, one that's 18, 15.5, and 14.5 inches wide. Then I cut all of my pieces to length, and I'll leave links down below to free PDF plans with a cut list and basic diagrams so that you can build something similar. The base is made up of 2 pieces that are 18 by 24 inches wide. I threw on some wood glue and used spring clamps to hold it together. And while that glue was drying, I cut the rest of my pieces to length. I'm basically making 15.5 by 15.5 inch cubes. I've got 4 pieces that are 15.5 by 14.5, 1 piece that's 15.5 inches square, and then 4 more that are 14.5 by 14.5. Like I mentioned, all of that will be in the plans, but now it's time to glue and nail these pieces together. And one thing I did that was helpful was to mark where I needed to shoot my nails on the back. That way I had as little blowout as possible. The third 18 by 24 inch piece is this middle divider, and then I built the other box on the opposite side. I figured that would look pretty cool. Once I had the top on, I could see that it was taking shape and it looked awesome, but I wanted to add a little bit of reinforcement, so I grabbed these 2-inch wooden dowels and I cut them to length. A miter saw would have been convenient here, but I still got usable cuts. I put 2 of these 14.5-inch tall dowels on the bottom level, and later I'm gonna wrap these in rope so that they're DIY scratching posts. I just made sure everything was as square as I could get it before I shot these in place, and all of a sudden the whole frame got a lot more rigid. I cut 2 more dowel pieces for another shelf above that. The longest is 29.5 inches long, and then I drilled holes on the ends as well as on the shelf so that I could screw into them. This made lining everything up way easier, and I made sure to add some glue to these joints, and they were very strong. The top level is going to be this round crow's nest with a 6-inch radius. I made this DIY compass so that I could mark and cut this out with my jigsaw. This doesn't need to be perfect, but make sure and use a high tooth count blade to prevent as much chip out as possible. I added another dowel so that each of my tiers would be 15.5 inches tall for a grand total of a 62-inch tall cat tower. And I think it looks really awesome. I used 1.25" 16 gauge finish nails, but if you don't have a nailer, you could also use 1.25" trim head screws like what are on the screen here. Either way, you'll want to throw some wood filler anywhere you've got a recess and then sand everything with 150 or 220 grit sandpaper. The fronts for these boxes are made from the same 14.5 by 14.5 inch pieces as the back, but I used my DIY compass to draw a 7-inch circle right in the middle and then cut out an opening with the jigsaw. Just like before, this doesn't need to be perfect, but it is a lot more difficult to sand an inside radius rather than a convex radius. I glued these little wood blocks in as positive stops an inch back from the edge of the boxes. This way the fronts would be recessed a 1/2 inch. It also made installation way easier. Boom! And my mom made pillows. Thanks, Mom. And after the sponsor break, I'll show you how to make them. And really quickly, I'd like to give a big thanks to the sponsor of today's episode, Squarespace. Squarespace is your one-stop shop to build your own website. And what's awesome is you need 0 website building experience. I'm serious, if you can upload files and drag and drop text blocks, you are well on your way to a one-of-a-kind site. Squarespace's designer templates look great on desktop, tablet, and mobile no matter where customers find you, and they're packed with awesome features like built-in search engine optimization, unlimited products in Squarespace stores, and analytics so you can understand where your traffic is coming from and how to target potential customers best. And if you follow the link in my description, that's squarespace.com/modernbuilds, you can build out your entire Squarespace site before entering any of your credit card info. And then when it's time to make your website live, don't forget to use my code ModernBuilds for 10% off your first store, site, or domain through Squarespace. Thanks a ton to Squarespace. Now let's get back to the build. So what we did is get some dollar store hand towels and cut them into the custom sizes that we needed for our boxes and for that round platform up top. I hot glued all of my seams and this worked really well. I just needed to be careful where I applied it. Shout out to my mom for showing me how to do this. Oh, and I should mention, I'm building this over the holidays while I'm staying with them at their place. They got a new cat named Polly. I left an opening in the middle of this fourth seam, that way I could fill it up, but first I had to turn everything right side out. We just used some filling out of an old pillow, but once it was full, I sealed it up with some more hot glue. Anytime I build with hardwoods, I always use Maker Brand Simple Finish to get the best color out of the grain, but it's also pet friendly because it's plant-based and has no VOCs. I used this poly rope on the bottom level to create scratching posts. I like the white color and I thought it was classic modern builds, but I've seen people use a lot of natural fibers, twine, and other types of clotheslines too. I only wrapped the bottom 2 posts just for looks, but I did add a hook so that hanging toys could be right here on the second level. And with that, this DIY cat tower is done. Overall, I think this is an awesome project, and after looking at the prices of similar pieces online, I thought this was a no-brainer. Plus, the cat kinda seems to like it. I know there's a million different ways you could configure a project similar to this, so if you build something, make sure and tag me on Instagram at Modern Builds. I'd love to see. Hopefully, Polly the cat makes this a little bit more of a home, and next time I'm in town, it's hanging out there all the time. All right, so thanks a ton for watching. Make sure and click like, subscribe, and the notification bell. And we'll see you next time on Modern Builds. This on Modern Builds.